Hello everybody, Darren here, and welcome back to Satisfactory. You catch me just admiring the observation tower. We just built this in the previous episode, and it's kind of a dual purpose thing. One was to kind of look out over the desert and see all of what we're building, right? This entire series is largely focused on building in the desert and bringing things into it via road and rail. So, it's that, whoa, it's a bit of a warped, sorry about that. Anyway, so the idea is that, you know, we can kind of see everything as it builds up, but it's obviously also a resource transfer. At the top of the hill up there, and the cliffs, we have a sulfuric acid outpost and caterium leaching refineries. So we're bringing down the caterium and some water and some sulfuric acid to fill all of our various refineries here. This is largely for copper production. We've then got motor production in front of me, some nitric acid, silica production, also part of the motor production there, and then some concrete and stuff. So we also have train stations and truck stations ready to go, so we can bring more things into the factory. Let's just hop back down to myself, and we can talk about what's on the right hand side of the screen. So the first port of call today is going to be biofuel. This isn't really something we talked about before, but obviously to run our truck stations, all my trucks run on biofuel. We have a dedicated factory for that. And the idea is that this one is going to be reserved for biofuel, and then what comes out of here will feed itself and all subsequent fuel inputs of all of our truck stations. So that's one of the first things I want to get done. Then this station is going to be limestone, so the limestone's already hooked up and ready to go into our concrete refineries. And we'll also need an additional limestone, which is going to go over to here, I think. These guys are looking to take in limestone as well. Now there is actually a limestone deposit underneath the factory, and that limestone is capable of doing 300 per minute. It's an impure node, so with a Mark III miner, eventually it could do 300 per minute. Right now, our best is 150. This entire factory is pretty much going to be running at 50% speed until we get Mark III miners, and also until we have the power to really turn everything on fully. We can do a lot of the Mark III stuff and run things at 100%, but then maybe the end products are probably going to be still capped to about 50 for a little while until we get the requisite power. Anyway, I just mentioned that because I was torn. Should we bring in limestone via rail, go out and find various deposits? There's some pure nodes out by this lake here. There's pure nodes a little further back as well. But I kind of decided actually it would make a bit more sense just to use what we've got. We have a deposit here. It will be ramped up in the future. We've also got 3 deposits. Let's see if I could just fly up and look at them real quick in the distance. So super hard to see, but there should be like one right there. I guess if I just tap them like this. There we go. We can see exactly where they are. Those 3 limestone deposits are running at 256 per minute. They could be running at 300. So, you know, we can scrape little bits out of those. And then there's another one hooked up to another part of my road network all the way down here that we're not using yet. But it's right there, right next to 2 other truck stations on a road. And that's a perfect bit of limestone we could grab. There's another one right there next to a road. So part of me kind of wants to utilize everything we've got, you know, available to us. And then we look to the rail to obviously go out and pull in more stuff, such as quartz, which we'll be getting from the Titan Forest, because we just need the volume. There is quartz to our north, but I'm reserving that for a future endeavor we'll talk about some of the time. Anyway, without digressing too much, let's get started. We're going to work on the liquid biofuel. My plan here, it was to build up to a height of 6, but from the ground, not from their little raised platform, and largely copy some of the styling that we've done for my copper electric factory, which has a very similar truck sort of layout. Now I've actually made a new blueprint for this, so over in my universal buildables we now have foundations 5 meters, so normally they're 4 meter foundations, but this is a 5 meter one, and it uses, you know, we've got some of the steel frame underneath to kind of make it look a bit more industrial overall. So I'll just sink that down to here, and that should line us up, I think. We'll try to center align it, I guess. And we'll just commit to that for now. Now, obviously, we're going to hook up lights to these and run belts along top. But I think this will give the place a nice industrial type of feeling. I can't remember if I mentioned it or not, but that was the reason for stripping the paint out of all these machines. I want it to be very metallic, very industrial, very utilitarian, I guess, which means just like we don't care about the aesthetic that much. We just want the function. So a more realistic looking factory for this one. Other factories will go a bit crazy with the colors again and stuff. It's like a hard reaction to the copper electric factory, which is extremely bright and different colors and stuff going on inside. This is almost the polar opposite of that. There we go. So I actually was playing around with the blueprint, building in some cables that run along it and everything, but I wasn't sure where the lights are going to go, and I'd like to line up the lights with the truck stations, so that way I couldn't really work it into the blueprint, and I felt like it was just best to keep it separate. So I've just packed my inventory with a lot of steel and concrete so we could do this quite easily. I'll just build this all the way down, and then I can run the power along the top and save room for belts and lights. And then we should be good to go and drive the first route, which should be quick. The biofuel factory is really close by. Whoops. Is that it? Is that as far as we want to go? It actually worked out. I wasn't even paying attention, but it worked out really well. This goes just as far as this line. Now, they're 5 across, so how far does this one go? Well, that just worked out extremely well. So we're probably going to have rooftops of varying heights, right? We're obviously lower than the height of those machines, so they'll have a different kind of ceiling. And I imagine the trains might have something different too. That way, the building will look a bit more visually interesting, have a bit of character to the outside of it, so it's not just a big rectangle. You know, some offset rooftops and things like that can make it look a bit more interesting. Okay, so happy enough with that. Just a giant rooftop, effectively. Oh, and just very quickly, if anyone's curious, it's kind of a 3-layered sandwich. We have the concrete here on top, then we have grip metal, and then the frame foundation is actually sunken into that grip metal. I did that on purpose because I thought it looked like it lined up pretty well. It's kind of hard to see, but the seams kind of blend together. Now, obviously, if you know the game, you know it's kind of clipping through, but I think it kind of looks pretty good, and it saves just a bit of headroom. So, you know, these don't come down really far, and they look like they're built into the ceiling a bit more. So, quite happy with that. And it'll be a little bit different, a bit more unique to this place. So, first thing I'll just do real quick is, before we even hook these up to power, is let's figure out getting this ready. So, I'll just fly for a second. We'll do our splitter. So, this is going to be the biofuel out. So, we'll feed it in that way. And that's just going to go in there, I suppose. Yeah. Now, I'll probably use a Mark IV belt for the main belt, and then we'll feed all of these with Mark 1s just for variety, I suppose. So this can go up to the ceiling and just come down one. Something like that. This is where things will probably get a little annoying. Oh no, we can, as long as you look at the center of the foundation, you can still place these on the line, which is fine. So I was thinking that this spot here should line up. Would that be right here? I think so. And then if we just grab a Mark 1 lift, we can bring this up to the top and just feed that straight over. If we use default mode, it'll fit in nicely. Yeah. Cool. So just do that and then basically follow these down all the way. So we'll do a Mark IV straight mode into there. If we wanted to make it look a bit better, we could obviously have the... What's it called? Like the ceiling mounts? Is it in the... Whoops. In logistics, I think. Yeah. Bit finicky to place these, but you know, every now and then I might just throw a few of them in just to make it look like it is actually suspended off of the rooftop itself, and that can look okay, actually. Alright, so just gotta basically do this the entire way down, and we could then maybe... So again, I want to keep things looking pretty plain in some ways, so I'll probably unpaint it. Some things I want to give a, you know, a nice lighting effect to, or some nice trim and paint. Not everything's going to be completely just grey, but for now, we'll unpaint it, and then we can pick and choose what we want to kind of make it look a bit better. So I'll just do the next one, and then I'll leave it there, and I'll do the rest then myself, just in the cut. Something like this. Just grab this. Now that the color is set, it's much easier. And then we'll just grab this. It's weird that it has to go in default mode, I guess. Mark forward out of our minds. In you go. Cool. So that's 2 fed, and then we just keep doing this all the way down. Alright, so there we go. That's 7 truck stations, all ready to go, all hooked up to power. They all have their fuel lines, so we just have to deliver the fuel. I'm also now just making some crystal oscillators in a manufacturer, just so we can put in some lights on the roof. Some of those large billboards, they can require quite a bit of crystal oscillators, so I'm just kind of banking them up right now, using summer sloops to make more than we normally do. Obviously, this factory in the future will make crystal oscillators, so we won't have to do that anymore. Alright, so just had enough lights to do the entire line of truck stations. The next thing we'll be doing the entrance in and the exit out. So the road here, we just hold control to flatten our sign against the roof or any surface we're looking at, and then just pave these all the way down. But while I'm waiting for my crystal oscillators to build up in the background, which they still are, we could drive our first route. We can go collect some biofuel. So let's do that. So basically need to get a truck. And the truck will largely just stay stationed here for a long time, so I'll just position it here for now. I need to clear and open our driveway in, of course. Might do something like I did with the other factory, which is where if we use the inverted up corner, we can kind of create like a little bit of a turn that makes it easier for our trucks to take that harsh turn if they're turning right on the side that they're driving. So that should just make things a little easier when turning into there, just to be on the safe side. Alright, so if given it fuel, let's get moving. We'll go down to the liquid biofuel factory. I'm going to start my recording here. And we'll just drive down. This is a really quick drive. It's right next to us, but it's still nice to have the truck do it. And we'll just slowly ease into our turn. Nice and gentle like. And we should still have completely full biofuel, I think, in this place. So there should be no problem with this. So, just load our cargo in. Remember, I don't have any trucks waiting here. They wait at their respective stations before they come back out, or factories before they come out to this place and get stuff from here. If they were waiting here, they'd be blocking each other. This way it's a little less intrusive. We could also have different trucks, or just one truck do a delivery for multiple factories, but there's no real benefit to that. They're burning the same fuel driving it either way. Except for maybe less trucks on the road, I guess, at the same time. Alright, so that should be totally fine. We'll just drive up to our entrance now, take our little ramp in, hit the end station and unload, and then we should be able to see our biofuel make its way down to all the other stations. This layout worked really well for the copper electric factory, so hoping that we don't have any issues with it. We can just slow down here, take our nice soft turn into this spot, and now this says load cargo into truck. We'll just switch that to unload. Unload now. There we go. Let it do its thing. There we go. We can see the liquid biofuel rolling along and subsequently filling every little station. Love to see it. Alright, let's just keep driving and we'll try to close the loop. Oh no. Some idiot left his car here. That's alright. We'll get rid of the pause node in a minute. I'll enable the autopilot, let that do its thing. Just got to go really quickly to those little pause nodes and adjust the time. So, you know, we don't need to make this journey very often, so I can set a relatively large timer here at the end. I would say something like 10 minutes at the very least. Again, there's no harm, really, in letting it go as often as it wants, other than just wasting, like, burning fuel for no reason. So, I would say something like, let's do even 1200 seconds, so that's 20 minutes, right? So you leave every 20 minutes, and I'm just going to remove you, delete that node, because it was an accident. That one should be okay. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't actually intend on doing this much cosmetics, but I spent a little bit more time here and put up the walls and did a little bit of painting around some of the platforms and, you know, putting down the patterns, things like that. So I'm pretty happy with it. You know, it's fairly basic, and depending on how I do cosmetics for other parts of the factories, you know, some things might change. I'll add in some windows, that kind of thing. Didn't want to spend too long on it, but just something so that it's a little nicer to walk around while we're here. Now, in bay number 3, this is going to be the designated Limestone import station. That's just the one we have hooked up at the moment, and we want vehicles to unload here. So I'm going to get driving out to the next limestone mining location. I think I said earlier in the video that I was going to increase the existing miners, because they're doing 256 per minute each. They could be doing 300. And while we could do that, there's actually a whole deposit a little further up north, which again, I think I actually mentioned, but I'm just going to tap that one. That's really all we need, because the additional limestone that's here already will be more than enough to cater to everything. My plan was to actually pull some of the limestone out of this motor factory here, because it's the one getting from the existing deposits, and like have a little overflow that sends it out into another truck station on the left here. I might still do that for copper, because copper we're going to be pulling in. There's a free copper node right there, and we could be sending more into this factory, and we could do a little spill over there. It'll make more sense a bit later, but basically it's kind of like we don't really need the train station for it. And I know that might annoy some people, but there's something quite nice about using what you've already tapped, or at least filling in the gaps between factories before going beyond our borders. Well, anyway, so here we are. Limestone is just down by this copper node, which is just on my left. So if we just check that really quickly, what's this running at? Yeah, you know, you see we could get more out of this. We got a lot more out of this if we made a Mark III miner. And because we can't really run these factories at 100% right away anyway, it's tempting just to kind of use what we have. So I just won't bore you with this. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do it, but I imagine we're just going to go out in a straight line, keeping the same height, and I'll just kind of create some sort of road layout system that maybe we're traveling forward this way, so maybe we go up and around and back out, something like that. Something? I'll have to figure it out. It's going to be something I have to play around with for a minute or two. Alright, so there we have it. So fairly compact, not too dissimilar from how the other sides have been done in the other styles, so hopefully keeping consistency there. This is going to be compact, but I think a tractor should have no problem getting around it. At least one would hope. So we'll just throw in liquid biofuel into that. We'll get our standard power line and feed it to the miner, and then get our variable power line and feed it to the truck station, because that goes on and off. Thinking about it, might want to start from an area where there's just a bit more of a lead up. I don't like starting on turns and things like that, so we'll start from over there. So that's going to be feeding in now. Ooh, we have to set this to like we have to overclock it, so let's get it to 300 per minute, please. That'll be more than what we actually currently need. Eventually I'll probably go around and clock these things down to their 50% numbers. It just depends. Certain parts of the factory I might run at 100% if they're going into awesome sinks, and then leave other parts that are a bit more complicated to run at 50 if they're waiting on certain materials. It just kind of depends, so I'll have to figure that out later. Alright, let's get a move on. If we could just give it fuel, that would be good. Alright, and I'll start the recording, and maybe we'll just time-lapse the drive. Okay, so back at the truck stations, I actually kind of missed it. You know, I drove the route, saved it, and then let it automate it, and it kind of it just made its delivery now, so it's heading back to the limestone. So it dropped off 1,340 limestone in that one journey. It immediately just got backed up because it has nowhere to go. It's going straight into refineries that need to mix with water in order to make concrete, these three. So that will give it concrete. The rest of the limestone continues around this way and goes into our blenders to make silica. And as you can see, it doesn't roll all the way through, it stops here. That's because we have the limestone node underneath the factory feeding the rest of these machines from the other side. So that's the plan for this. So we have to turn on that other miner if we want to give these guys the rest of their stuff, but obviously we're still waiting on water and we're dependent on just a few different things, so it's all good. Just as long as the material is here, that's really all that matters. What's next? So that's limestone kind of marked off the list on the right. We have coal to do next. Oh, there's our little guy. 1,300 again. Perfect. Love to see that. It was going to be here, coal. Yeah, so I'll talk about coal in a minute. I might actually make that a train. It might make more sense because we have to go pretty far out to get the coal. And I had asked you guys if I should build a road going over the rail line. And people said, yeah, do it. You know, it's totally fine. And I think I will in the future. I'm just not going to do it right away. So I actually played around with it and had a look. So building the road out this way, up and over the rail, and then over that rail, gives us access to that like large open area in there, which is great, but it just seemed like, long story short, I can bring these resources in via rail, and the other ones, like I said, I can just get from the existing miners and things we have. So we currently have 300 copper here already. Now, something I can't quite remember. I don't know if I can turn it on or not. Let's see, turn on the resources. Yeah. Is this a... It is a normal node. So that's potentially 600 per minute. So right now, so in total we need 945. So you could say that we've already got 600. So we really only need 345 if you wanted to max out the thing we have here, which we will eventually. And if we only need 345, we could easily do that just by tapping the node that I drove past earlier up here. There's copper ore, normal node, another 600 available right here. So I think we should use that. There's also the copper that we just looked at down this way. So it's being blocked right now by the... let's see, turn off the truck stations. Don't know why we can't see it there. Oh, we can only see these ones because the radar's in range. I see. Well, anyway, this is a copper node. Again, it's normal, so we could potentially get 600 out of that. In fact, that might be perfect because this one I think is using something like 225 or 250. And we need 345. So if you were to upgrade it, you'd get exactly the amount that we'd actually need. So anyway, what are we going to do with this station? Make a coal. The coal can come in this way instead. So to me, that makes a lot more sense, right? Because if we're only really bringing in about 300 to 400 copper, a truck is more than enough for that. And it's pretty damn tempting just to pull it from the existing node that we have. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, our little copper buddy is here. Not much copper on this one because obviously the miner is being mostly used by a different factory right now, but once it gets upgraded, it'll be okay. So the other factory is actually going to suffer a bit if we don't do something. I could temporarily plug the other miner into that factory because it's right next to it. So we're talking about the motor factory here. So it's relying on the copper that's coming from down here. There's a copper node right there. So you could just pipe that straight in there, keep this one going, and then once we upgrade this one, that one is then free for something else. So I'm just trying to make best use of the space of the things that we have. Now, I've disconnected... Oh crap, actually, I need to catch that and turn off the nodes. Come on. There we go. There we go. Alright, Godspeed. Yeah, so the belt was originally going around into the coal... into the foundries to make steel pipe. Right now I've just cut that, so it's just open right there. So it's probably going to go down beneath the ground, and from the truck station, this will feed up and over. So let's try that out. So let's do this here. And that's a Mark IV belt, so let's get a Mark IV. Just feed that in. Right. So that's what will be coal now. It's currently copper. Gotcha. So yeah, these could just be replaced really neatly, I think, actually, and be totally fine. So let's do this instead. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll bring that down. So that was there. So it's 1, 2, I guess. Yep. So cut that. This is actually a Mark V belt. Interesting. Oh, that was because of copper, yeah. But for coal, it'll only need to be 4. There we go. Just downgrade that, I guess, just to be accurate. Cool. Now, the amount of coal we need is actually really low, so I don't even need a full 6 stations for it. We might just use the back 3 and then leave the front 3 free for something else in the future. Maybe more sulfur, or don't know. Not sure. But it just seems like we don't really need it. Or we could just send coal out of here from somewhere else. Okay, so that's totally fine. So what's coming out of here then now needs to go back down and join back on. So that should be straightforward enough too. We send it down the same spot because why not? So we'll go here. And this is now less than I thought it was going to be, so it doesn't also need to be a Mark V. So that's fine. And that can be sent over there. And sorry, I don't really have power here at the moment. I've actually kind of had power problems in one of the, in between cuts, I guess. And I might need to use priority power switches, actually. It's a whole thing. I accidentally disconnected the variable line, and it cut off the truck that was delivering the compacted coal into the power station, which makes turbo fuel. And then all my power died, and I had a huge amount of time wasted fixing that. So, alright, well anyway. Copper ore is now flowing. Is that Mark IV? Yeah. Alright, cool. We're back. Now, yeah, that's at a... I guess eventually it might need... I don't know. I'll just make it a Mark V to be safe, I guess. But that'll keep it the same now. So this is just going to keep going this way. And these are both copper lines now. So this is the first time more copper is going to be feeding into the existing refineries that we've built. So I'll just keep following this for a sec. So copper is above me and below me now. And these two belts are sort of going to kind of merge. So ultimately it's going to be 945 when all is said and done. Alright, I'll just hop off somewhere here. And this does have power, this section of the factory, so we could just float up. Right, so that's that belt there. So this is the first time now that these guys are getting their stuff. So that's taking some of the sulfuric acid from our observation tower, mixing it with fresh batches of copper ore for the first time now, making new batches of copper ingots. They are not going to be going anywhere. These will not be going anywhere, but these two, for now anyway, but these two will be. These are going to go up and in and into our wire productions. We've already got the Caterium there, so this is going to start making wire. The wire can then go down into this section and start making motors. And they're contingent on the coal coming in to... and the iron. Yeah, so we have the iron, so we just need coal. So we're getting there. This bottom floor is almost about to be fully powered on. I need to just look it up though. So I've got a bunch of ingots here. What are they doing? What is that for? Oh, okay, I've got it. Apparently 1,200 is going to go upstairs to be made into quickwire. So that's where they're going to go. At least we have a destination for them in mind. So how many is it? Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? So 600 here and 600 here. Well, that's exactly the 1,200 that we are looking for. So that works out. And then these are all going down and feeding into all of the copper sheet refineries. Yep, so that's all fine. Someone has worked this out for me and it seems to make sense. Alright, cool. We're actually totally fine. I mean, production 16,000, max consumption's not even scraping. Yeah, it's only just over 11. So I guess we've got 5,000 megawatts to play with. Before, obviously, after this factory is done, we're going to be building a new power factory of some kind. And the idea is that we can finally tap, like we'll have everything we need. And we'll have drones. So I was hoping for, instead of doing rocket fuel, which a lot of people do, and it is really good, I kind of just wanted to go straight to nuclear. I thought that would be more fun. But you kind of do need a big reserve of power to get that going. But I think we could just shut down a few factories, hence the priority power switches. We can maybe turn a few off, you know, get some batteries. We'll be laughing. It'd be great. Alright, so for making this suitable for coal, these are the 3 buffers that are going to be doing it. So we don't need that here, 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 or here. That can all go. And then we can just plug this straight in as a Mark V. So that's going to go under the ground and back up and back over to those machines, just like how we had it before. Actually forgot to fill that back in. So totally cool. These front 3, like I said, don't know what we'll do with them, but I've listed it as coal at 350. That's how much we need. So where are we going to get that from? Well, the coal that's in the desert here, we're reserving for the aluminum factory. The coal, excuse me, that's out by the coast here, we're using, excuse me again, for the coal power plant. There is a little bit of extra coal here, but they're both impure nodes. So that means in total it'll be 300 and 300. So we get 600 eventually. For now, though, we'll only get 300 because it's 150 each, which is not too short of the number we need, right? We need 350. So that's totally fine. There is coal to the north, but not to get too ahead of myself, I'm kind of planning that the quartz crystal that's up in the north and the coal could work really well to make, I think it's an alternate recipe called cloudy diamonds. So those two numbers work really well together, I think, because they're pure nodes, and I think they're 1-to-1, something like that. I can't quite remember, but I remember looking at that thinking like, oh, I'll reserve that for a much further along build, like later out, like way later in the series. And we could do it right in our backyard, as it were. So that's why I've been kind of keeping the north a little clear, knowing that stuff's going to go up there too. Okay, so yeah, let's build our train and get a move on. So we'll need at least 6 carriages anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We'll have to say, yeah, I suppose the easier thing to do is really pack the first 3 rather than the back 3. But it just kind of seemed to make a bit more sense to do the ones closest to there. It just means that when we're picking up coal, we'll have 3 empty platforms and then 3 at the back that are filling up. I don't know if there's a problem with that. Anyway, guess we'll figure it out. Let's get a move on. Now, I haven't put down the rail. I guess I'll have to make a run for more steel and concrete, but we can start to look at where this is broadly going to go. So I'll just keep moving out like that. So we're just on the rail line right now, going dead straight, obviously. So somewhere here, I reckon we could cut off and go down that way. There is already a junction here, so maybe even sooner than that. I'm not sure. But it seemed to make the most sense, like just somewhere here before that bend. That could be another junction. I just feel like these junctions are really close together. So let's just see if the length of this train blocks the turn. Like, would this length of this train, if it was to stop here, it looks like it just about fits, actually, between stops. So it will be stopped there, yeah? And if that was the case, that's the length, the max length of train that we went with. And yeah, we're short of the other thing. So that's actually great. Now, this is kind of in the way, so we can't really turn that way easily. But we'll make some other dynamic turn like here. So something, we'll just get another piece. It doesn't have to fit to the world grid. And we'll just bend onto it. And then we'll create our little signals to make sense or whatever. And we'll roll downhill, which is going to be a weird one, but that's kind of what you have to do. Yes, we're going to go down that hill and around the coast. Alright, so it's a lot of infrastructure, so I'll put a lot of the rail down and then we'll resume when I get to the actual junction building, I guess. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, a significant amount of time has passed and I've built a lot of rail infrastructure. This is where the initial T-junction was. You know, on the left we go down towards the swamp, on the right This will take us further into the map and over to the Titan Forest and a few other places. And that's where I actually wanted the T-junction to go originally, just splitting off to the left. But this area is raised, and this rock is in the way, and I was trying to go up and around, and it was just really, really awkward. So I ended up going a little further back and building it here. So it's a second T-junction a little earlier. So not the cleanest, you know, looking thing maybe, or most logical. There is enough distance between these that it houses a full train with 6 wagons, and it's, you know, the locomotive at the front. Jeez, I'm having a stroke here. Anyway, you get the idea. So it works. The signal should be fine. I just placed them down once and they just worked straight away. So all good. People had said if you put the signals down a little farther from the junction, they tend to work better. So that seems to be true. Anyways, we branch off here and we go way down to the coast and then circle around. So we can just ride the rail now so we can actually see it. I've actually gone ahead and built the entire platform down there as well. We're just about ready to pick up the coal and get moving. Effectively, I was planning on time-lapsing it, and then I was making so many errors, or I was second-guessing everything I was building, like redoing it multiple times, that I just felt this would be kind of useless in a time-lapse, or really messy or hard to keep track of. So, effectively, we're just going to drive it, and I'll just show you what I did. So, using my standard kind of rail blueprints, and the supports that go underneath, we just go all the way out. I bring power with me, of course, because that's my main power line. Variable power works on the train line itself. But if I want to power machines and stuff, I use the kind of silver sort of power towers there. So this is effectively it. We've got 2 stations. I'll pick that up in a minute. We've got 2 stations. One is going to do copper and iron. That's because we have iron there, copper there. There's not that much, so I feel like a combined station is probably okay for that. This one then is the coal extraction. So even though there's not much here either, there's a node there and there, I think. A full station is warranted because in the future, we're right next to our coal power plant, so, you know, humble beginnings over there. Quite like the look of that, actually. You know, I haven't seen it in a long time, and I was kind of walking around like, oh yeah, I remember building this. There's 2 coal nodes feeding that factory, and if we boosted them, we could take some of the excess and send it over to this, or eventually we'll have power that vastly outweighs that coal power plant. That makes 2,700 megawatts, I think. So, you know, if we build something worth 50, 60, 70, 100,000 megawatts, it's like, do we really need a building doing 2,000? Not really. So we could just break off the coal and send it in there in the future. So I was trying to kind of maybe future-proof that. I also thought maybe an additional station would go in somewhere here later down the line, but I don't know. Haven't, I guess, fully decided. Anyways, so that's pretty much it. So it's just a big rectangular room, just with some of these pillars. So these are called the FP support top, frame pillar supports. And I just kind of dotted them all the way around, and then inside it's pretty much as you'd expect. It's just buffers underneath the stations themselves. I was going to do some glass floors and lights and things here, but I just kind of gave up. It's fine. Might do it, but don't really need to. Now, I also recognize something, which is that we don't really need to split evenly right now, so we'll just cut that and cut this. And I guess we can cut this as well. So if we get a belts Mark 5 out of our mind, and we just go straight into here. We're just using the back 3 carriages, right, this time. Maybe in the future we'll use those front 3, but for now, we only need the back 3. And we can build our miner as well. I should have enough for it. Not entirely sure where it even goes. There. Just aim it out that way. And then this one. Might make the platform bigger for this one. That's where I anticipated sending it. So these could all merge up onto the same line. They're impure nodes, so we'll just do something like this. And then here, we'll just go with a merger. So Mark 3, please. There we go. And this could be, I guess, Mark 5 by this point or whatever. Right, anyway, a little tedious there, my bad. And then we'll just do curved into there, so it's nice and smooth. And then these are going to get their full whack, so 150 per minute each. Cool. And then we have our power available. Yeah, let's do there. I'll go across to like here or something. That connects to that one. That connects to that one. We are powered on, so that's going to be our first coal delivery now. So we can get our train ready. So this should start filling the first 3 carriages. Oh, sorry. Oh yeah, it's the wrong way around actually. We need the back 3, not the front 3. I forgot that it's angled that way. Alright, cool. Excellent. Alright, so that should be 300 per minute traveling into our back 3 carriages. So so it's 100 each. I was going to divide it by 3. Yeah, so 100 into each carriage at a time. So that's totally fine. We could now build freight car 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. By the way, if anyone's curious about the layout of this, it's just a double track. One splits off this way and goes around, feeds into a station, feeds into another, or loops around back on itself. Okay, let's save that. Turn on self-driving. All good. Now, can I rename these stations from here, I wonder? I'm not sure. I'll just name them when I get to them. So this is called Coal Extraction 01. I should probably name it whatever I've named the one in the swamp. So this is called Bauxite Outpost 01 Swamp. Gotcha. So we'll call this Coal Outpost 01. And it's coast, desert coast. I'll just call it East Coast. It's fine. That shouldn't affect anything. Now, you're not loading yet. Oh, you are. Good. The back 3 are loading. Excellent. That's what we like to see. Even amount in each. Couple hundred. And these guys are still working a dream. Great. And we're ready to go. So I'm not driving. I'll just let it drive itself. And we'll see how the unloading side of things goes. Alright, we handled the junction fine, obviously. I say obviously just because it wouldn't let me do it, really, if it wasn't set up correctly. Now, we've got some interesting stuff here, right? A train's trying to pull out. We're coming up next. The train did just leave this area. Yeah, all good. Nice, we're free to go through. Excellent. Alright, all works. And this will be our first coal delivery into that station. I'll give it a proper name just after. Alright, there she is. She's back again for her second run. This time now with 600 per carriage. Nice. So I've adjusted it so that they can actually unload correctly, and I've renamed the stations to be in line with just the naming conventions I've gone with the other factories. So we should be unloading nicely into these 3, and then this is going to feed over towards the foundries, but they need to get their iron. So iron is actually local to here. We can just turn on the miner. So I might just run around and do some power changes. That's nice to know the train's pulling up right away. So that's the Alclad train that comes from there. This train is also going to go on to go get quartz in the future. I mean, we might be able to squeeze that into the very end of the video. If I do squeeze it in, though, it means not showing a lot of the build process, but maybe it'd be worth it just to get it up and running. A lot of the train line is built already anyway, which is good. Alright, cool. So there we go. So we hear the beep. That means the unloading process is ready, and these 3 are going to merge up together and send its stuff out. That's what you like to see. Nice. So what do we got? Mark II? Oh yeah, I think that was set that way for a certain reason. We don't need to limit these really anymore, so we'll just say... I don't even know if you can reach the one inside anymore. Actually, that's kind of the problem with building so close like that. It doesn't let you do the upgrade. It is more than enough, so maybe I'll just leave it as is. In total, we need 350, so 120, 120, and 120. It's 360, so it's actually pretty accurate, so we'll leave it as is. That can go. Okay, anyways, so we should see that coming up over here now. Yeah, there we go. Excellent. So ready to feed all the way down. So these just need to be turned on so they can get their stuff, and then we need to get them their iron. So I've been trying to clean up the power because it's really messy in this place. Like, power poles have just been strung across the whole place, and I'm not really sure where it's coming from, so I'm just going to start to tidy that up just now a little bit. But that's going to involve putting the ceiling on, so I'm going to get to work on that. Right, so I made this blueprint. This is called Cable Runners 7, and then it's 5 foundations long. So basically, you know, the idea here is that if you want to get crazy, this is totally like an optional thing. We can lay these out next to each other, running across the ceiling of the factory. And then we have like several different lines that can feed back to power switches. So it's a bit annoying, right? We have to still connect the power lines to each one. But they can feed back to power switches then. And from a remote room, you can just then turn on and off things if you want. Okay, so should be able to give this a go now. So I want to just get the foundries up and running first, and then we'll try to do the motor production, which is a bit more involved. So this will be cleaned up, and we'll do this properly in a different video, but it's just to get the concept going. So mains power comes in here, and the power switch is off. So we'll turn on mains power, so the power flows in, and now it's flowing to this pole, which is connected to all of these. So these are now able to be online. Right, so now we've got steel and iron. So this is hooked up to one of the cable runners. It's the one on the left. And then just to fly real quickly, the one on the left just continues forward to this point, and then it goes left and down into this area here, and it's all powered that way. Now, this frees up this side to do other things in the future if we're going the other direction, if you wanted to power refineries or whatever. So it's all just about like remembering what lane you're in, and then just making sure at turns, you know which way you went, basically. Sometimes it can actually be helpful. I used to do this in other factories, just to color the beams, and then you always know. But I'm going to go for a minimalist style here where we're not going to color it, just for the challenge, I guess. Right, so we'll turn that on. This should mean that now these are on. They are. So this is steel and iron production. Now, they're going to be accepting the coal, which we just set up, but the iron ore isn't going to roll up from the miners down below for a little while, but it should come up soon, and it'll be feeding up through here. I think it all comes up through here as well, doesn't it? And then some of it's going to go on and continue down. This next section, what do? They make steel. So they're going to be waiting on concrete. Yeah, arguably, yeah, I'll have to figure out how we want to do the switches, but arguably you'd have a different switch for like concrete and this, so that way you're making steel, because it's dependent on those two things. So you could kind of layer it that way, maybe. We'll think about it. Obviously, I don't want to just do random switches for no reason. I do want it to have a reason, like in case certain parts of the factory need to power down, or we realize that something's messed up, we want to shut a part of it off. Like, that's the overall idea. But it's also just cool to have a control room that you can affect things with. Don't get me wrong. Hey, there we go. Some of the irons after rolling up. Nice. And steel is being produced and rolling into the stuff ahead. So these could turn on if I just gave them water. We just don't have water yet. Yeah, it's a bit much effort to do that. We could just go... Here you go. Just give you a little helping hand with a bit of concrete in there, just for funsies' sake. So the concrete will roll out this way now and continue down and get made into steel pipe. And that steel pipe will go on and get made into motors. Now, in order to make the motors, we would need to activate these guys. So they just need power, actually. They have everything already. Oh, you don't have copper ingots for some reason. Oh, the copper's there. We just haven't... Yeah, okay. They just don't have power. All right. So let's try... go with the second connection. So the second connection rolls this way. So it's actually going left and right. I'll cut the left one. And we're just going to go to the right. And from here... This is perfect. Just feed onto this for a second. Feed that in there. And bring that down here. Feed to that line. Bring it down again. And that's gone way off in the distance. Good job. The pole is like... I don't know. Whatever. Okay, so now with that, we could turn on... This is now doing the kind of copper production. Or the wire production. So there we go. Boom. And they're active now as well. And that's taking the Caterium ingots down from the observation tower. So they're rolling in, which is good. And they're slowly going to make their way up in a feed between all of these. They take very little Caterium. But we can just leave... Oh yeah, they're actually mostly full from before anyway, so that's great. And then this wire is now going to roll out to this group. So very similarly to before. So what are they looking for? Rotors and stators. The rotors are down here. They need steel pipe and wire, so we're producing that. And they need steel pipe and wire. So all of this can turn on now. Again, if you wanted to have another thing, we could follow this one up to the third lane. Follow the third lane. We go here. We'll cut off the left side. It's just going to turn right. Follow this third lane. Yep, we just keep going forward, I guess, with it from here. Could probably cut it there, actually. And depending how we want to do it, obviously I'll try to clean this up, but that would just feed into here. And that could feed down to all of its buddies, just like before. So I'll just be a bit temporary. So I'm going to clean this up because I'm not really happy with how it's floating. I did have stuff underneath it, but I wasn't happy with that either. So I just need to find a way to make that look a bit better. We could turn this one on now. Alright, so that's going to give these guys all power. And now they're starting to get steel and wire. they finally start producing motors. And just get these machines all ready, you know. So I've actually cut the power to the refineries for now. So I'll have to turn them back on with another cable runner. So we could use the 4th lane this time. So we've already used the 3rd. So the 4th lane, this one here. And if I wanted to be a bit lazy, I could just throw this down somewhere so that they all just get power. Like that. And then if we just connect that 4th lane back over. This one. We don't have to disconnect it from there, but just do that for now. Alright, now we can turn this one. Bonk. And that should be all the refineries back on. Yeah. Alright, cool. It works. Just about. So there we go. That's pretty much the entire bottom floor on. I didn't get time in this video to do quartz, so that'll be the next thing. We're going to go out, build that quartz outpost, tidy up the power, and then start building the upstairs. The upstairs should be... I don't want to eat my words, but not that complicated, I don't think. It's a lot of big machines, and there are quite a few of them, but there's not that much, like, logistics that's needed, except for the quick wire. The volume's quite high there, so they might take a little bit of time. But the other machines are pretty straightforward. And then we can start really looking into feeding the milestones, so that we can just unlock our miners and start producing some of these high-tier goods. So we're really close now. Alright, so just at the end of the day here, I was looking over the list of things we still have left to do, and there is actually quite a bit. So the quartz import, so we have to go all the way down to the Titan Forest and build a new train platform. It's difficult to do in the Titan Forest because unlike most places, you can't just build vertically very easily. The trees are really big. So you kind of do just have to build around them, which is fine, but for trains that can be quite finicky. So building there might take a little bit of time to get it right. So that'll get the quartz we need, and we have the train station obviously set up here to take that in, and that's fine. Then we need water extraction and recycling. So a lot of the water extraction we've actually handled up on the Caterium Tower. So that's actually totally fine. Tower's up there, a lot of water, and we could pile even more onto it, which I'm actually leaning towards. It's kind of nice doing that, and we have the infrastructure for it. Or if it turns out we only need a small amount, I have to look into it, we could just tap bits of water down here, and that's fine. We mostly, I think, need it off the top of my head for concrete. And then we also have to handle the water recycling that's coming out of the blenders, which again could actually feed into the concrete, maybe. Then we need to do nitric acid. So we actually don't have the recipe for it yet, but all the logistics is hooked up for it. To get the recipe, we'll have to open the milestone, and to do that, we'll probably need to spend some tickets in the awesome shop and just brute force our way through the milestone to unlock it. Then we've got gas extraction and the pipeline. Those two things are interesting. I'm planning on just getting the gas from up here. Pipelines for gas don't require pumps, so we can go up and over cliffs or follow the riverbed down. I'm fine with that. It was suggested to actually bottle the gas, send a drone back and forth with it as well, because you can bottle gas in aluminum tanks, which is why I looked at the aluminum factory. And if we do that, you only need, like, let's say we make 2,000 tanks, a finite amount of tanks. And we bottle the gas, and then you bring it down here, you unbottle it or unpackage it, and then send the bottles back. So the same ones are always in rotation. You don't have to, like, make more all the time. So it's kind of tempting to do that, but I don't have drone fuel at the moment. We don't make batteries or anything. It's a bit of a side mission to go off and do that right now, though it is tempting. So maybe let me know what you think. Would you like a side mission of building some sort of drone fuel place? I mean, I was thinking of actually making batteries. I've never made them before. For the drones, they need what can we actually look that up right now? Yeah, it's like sulfur, isn't it? Yeah, so we need more sulfuric acid, alumina solution. Yikes, and alumina casing. Don't think that's happening. I don't know what the alternate is. If we could do without the alumina solution, I would maybe consider it. I don't mind casing or an aluminum product, just not the solution, because we use all of it right now, and I wouldn't want to create more. You also get water out. Huh, interesting. Yeah. Now, you could also make other fuel types, but anyway, it's like a side quest, isn't it, doing that? And it's tempting because it's interesting, but yeah. And I've started power control now. And then of course we have to do the entire upper floors of all the manufacturers and stuff. Quickwire will be the one that will probably take the longest because there's a lot of volume there. But other than that, those machines shouldn't take too long. Yeah, so I'd say we're about 2/3 of the way through the factory, probably 2 more videos to go, maybe even 3 just for this place, depending how long I spend on each particular thing. But we've made motors. Oh, that's cool. I can actually get up here on the rafters. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, so we're making motors. They're rolling out. We only had a finite amount of concrete, so we haven't made that much. The wire's doing its thing with Caterium and copper rolling in. And these foundries are now completely full up with steel. So yeah, it all works. Happy to see that. And how's our... But yeah, we're backing up with coal fast. Awesome. So everything today did work. Things just need to be refined and balanced a little bit. And I have to work out my cable infrastructure just a little bit better. And get some blueprints ready for the power control room. Alright, well, that's going to be it for me. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, you can get my save in the description below, whatdarrenplays.com/satisfactory. And any of the new blueprints that have appeared in this episode will be available for free. So go check them out. And yeah, let me know what you think, and suggestions are always welcome. Alright, that's going to be it for me. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.